Monica and Keshav, God has ordained marriage as a covenant. A covenant is a solemn and binding, yet deeply personal and intimate relationship between two parties who swear faithfulness to one another. Covenants are a juxtaposition of blessing and responsibility, of duty and delight. Thus, marriage is not to be entered into unadvisedly or lightly, but reverently, deliberately, and in accordance with the purposes for which it was instituted by God. Because of the strength of the marriage covenant, it alters all other relationships. Therefore, Jesus himself said, when he quoted Genesis chapter 2, "Have you not read that he who made them at the beginning made them male and female?" And said, "For this reason a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh." Monica's favorite theologian, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, put it like this: "It will no longer be your love that sustains this marriage, but from this day forward, it's your marriage that will sustain your love." Monica and Keshav, never forget, never doubt that it is God himself who is joining the two of you together, and it is he who will seal this marriage, empowering and equipping you by his Spirit to be vessels through which he can accomplish his good purposes in your lives and in the world by his grace and for his glory. As Monica and Keshav seek to forge their own marriage, they are so thankful for their parents, for the formative role they have played in each of their lives. Monica and Keshav shared with me a little bit about each of their parents, and I wanted to share with you all two qualities for each of them that they use to describe their parents, qualities that they hope to embody for one another. Monica's mom, Joanne, is wise and compassionate. Monica's father, Carlos, is loving and good-natured. Keshav's mom, Jayshree, is loyal and warm. And Keshav's dad, Amar, is brilliant and caring. In addition to honoring their parents by expressing gratitude and affirming their deep desire to model their parents' best attributes, Monica and Keshav asked me to read and then to make a few remarks about Psalm 40. Psalm 40 verses 1 through 3 says this: "I waited patiently for the Lord. He inclined to me and heard my cry. He drew me up from the pit of destruction, out of the miry bog, and he set my feet upon a rock, making my steps secure. He put a new song in my mouth, a song of praise to our God. Many will see and fear and put their trust in the Lord." Monica and Keshav, I think Psalm 40 is an exquisite choice for a day like today. I think the reason it's so fitting is because it includes both thanksgiving and lament. Eugene Peterson has noted how scholars over the last 100 years have given careful attention to the particular form that the Psalms take, and they have arranged them in two large categories: laments and thanksgivings. Those categories correspond to the two large conditions in which we humans often find ourselves in: distress and well-being. Monica and Keshav, if y'all are like the rest of us humans, those two categories are also likely going to be the two categories that you'll find yourselves in throughout your marriage. The fact is, we humans are prone to wander off and fall into pits of destruction, and to find ourselves neck deep in the miry bogs of life, just as the psalmist describes. We have a rebellious tendency within us to reject the Most High God, the maker and sustainer of all things, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and we start defining good and evil for ourselves. I know that both of you have found yourselves in a pit that you couldn't get out of on your own. You both know all too well the feeling of being stuck so deep in the mud that you thought you could never escape. I also know the two of you have experienced the glorious mercy of God in Jesus Christ. It was Jesus, in an act of humble condescension, who came down and cleaned you up and established your steps. Moreover, Jesus took your place in the pit and in the mud. He experienced the consequences of all our rebellion and the hell that it unleashes when he was crucified so that we could be redeemed. And now in Christ, the two of you are becoming a kind of masterpiece, and he's prepared good works for the two of you to walk in. I know that this is your confession. Therefore, I invite you on this day to join with the psalmist and remember the past mercy of God in your lives. According to the psalmist, past mercy produced a present hope in the midst of profound despair. Psalm 40 actually ends in verse 17, and it says this, "As for me, I am poor and needy, but the Lord takes thought for me. You are my help and my deliverer. Do not delay, oh my God." Every person here this evening who has been married for any significant length of time knows that there will be days and seasons where you feel poor and needy. And even more than the love of your spouse, you'll need to drink deeply of the mercy of God, your help and your deliverer. In addition to extolling the abounding mercies of God, Psalm 40 also unearths a connection between our theology, our thoughts about God, and our doxology, our praise to God. Good theology always results in a beautiful doxology. The lived experience of the writer of Psalm 40, the truths in his heart and in his mind about the mercy of God resulted in the kind of music that only mercy can make. Psalm 40 is in itself a psalm, but I'm alluding to something deeper from verse 3, where it says, again, "He put a new song in my mouth, a song of praise to our God. Many will see and fear and put their trust in the Lord." There's an apparent paradox there that I'd like to draw your attention to. A new song is being sung, a song of praise. But rather than many people hearing the song, which you would expect him to say, he says that many people see the song and put their trust in the Lord. When I read that, I've always asked myself, how is it that you can see a song? I believe the music that mercy makes goes way beyond words and instruments and spills out into the fullness of our lives through our actions, big and small and everything in between. Anyone here who knows the two of you well can attest to this. You aren't perfect, but there is a beauty about your lives, found in the ways that you express your love for God, your love for one another, and your love of your neighbors. Monica and Keshav, your lives are singing something wondrous to us about God if we're willing to hear it. And right now in this moment, it feels like the windows are rolled down and it feels like the volume of your song has been turned up to the max. That's because of the covenant that you two are making to one another and because of the transcendent love of God known to us in King Jesus. His words, His works, and His ways are the solid rock this marriage is being built upon. So Monica and Keshav, may you never forget the mercy of God in your lives together. May you never cease to sing the songs that God's mercy creates. And may it be that many people see your song and put their trust in the Lord.